coffee. Well, good afternoon, guys. Cumberland Outdoorsman here, back with another 22 series video. Today I've got two of my rifles out here, my bolt action rifles. My Remington Model 581, one of them anyway. You've seen this rifle before. And this old Remington Model 511. And we're going to be testing some Hypervelocity ammo that I just recently found. I've never shot either one of these two, and I just wanted to see how well they perform and to share my results with you. The first one I've got here is this Aguilar Super Maximum 22 Hypervelocity hollow point. It's advertised here shooting a 30 grain bullet, hollow point bullet, at 1,700 feet per second. Now, if we get that kind of speed, that's smoking fast. That's a really fast round. But we're going to test it for accuracy, for speed using a chronograph, and also for terminal performance at 50 yards. I always like to test ammunition at the distances where you're likely to encounter the game that you're shooting at, because that'll give you true results. It's not going to do you any good for me to test it right here close to the muzzle. I like to move the target further down and do my testing there. I'll take one of these rounds out and show it to you. They're individually packaged, and they have a long brass cartridge case. There's the A on the head stamp, and there's that hollow point bullet. Good looking little round. So we're going to be trying it out. Now, the other one that I've got here on the table that I've never tested before is this Segmented 32 grain hollow point by CCI, and it's advertised at 1,640 feet per second, which is the same as the CCI Stinger. I've tested this ammunition out in several videos in the past. In fact, I just tested this with a handgun video for self-defense. Take one of these rounds out. These are also individually packaged. They have the same long cartridge case as the Stinger, but it's brass. It's a brass case. Stinger is nickel plated. There's the head stamp, and there's a close look at the bullet. That's the business end right there, and it is truly a hollow point, and they say that they're segmented, so you know, if they travel at the same speed as a Stinger and it's a segmented hollow point, it's designed to really come apart. So I'm curious to see how well these will perform. Some of the older standby Hypervelocity ammunition that I have here is this Remington Yellow Jacket, and I believe it's advertised somewhere at around 1,500 feet per second. It shoots a truncated hollow point, and it's got a standard 22 length cartridge case. There's a close look at the bullet. Now, as far as I can tell, these have not changed any from their original design when they first came out back in the mid-1970s. Here's an old Remington Yellow Jacket box. Looks very similar to the newer box, and I think that Remington's going to start making these again since they reopened their plant in Lone Oak, Arkansas. Here I've taken one of the old rounds out of the box, and in comparison there you can see there's not much difference. Still pretty much the same, and I would say performance wise they're still pretty much the same. I tested those before, and they actually provided some really good accuracy out of my guns. I've still got a full box of these old Remington yellow jackets, as you can see, and I hold on to these because I collect old .22 ammo. The Stinger ammunition has changed somewhat through the years, and I'll take these out and show you in comparison with what I've got on the table. In the background here, I've got some vintage CCI Stinger ammo. That's the way they used to be packaged, in that blue box, as you can see. And I'll take one of these out and show it to you. They got this interesting little advertisement card there included with every box. There's a description and a caution by Omark Industries. Now, I've covered this before in my Hypervelocity .22 ammo video in the past that I did over a year ago. But here you can see there's a slight difference. The older cartridge had this crimp around the nickel-plated case. The case is still the same length. The bullet has slightly changed. It looks to me like there's a little bit more of a bearing surface on the newer bullet. The difference in the hollow point is the older ammunition had a 5-pointed hollow tip, which they called their penta point. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not, but either way, that's the way they were loaded. And everything else is still pretty much the same. There's the head stamp for both cartridges. That's the CCI Stinger. And in response to the success that CCI attained with their Stinger round, Winchester came out with what's called the Expeditor. Now, these are no longer available. I have not found these anywhere. And I've did quite a bit of research looking for them. But there's a full box of Winchester Expeditor. And these shot a 29 grain hollow point Lubaloy bullet. This was a really hot little round here. In fact, they clocked faster than the Stingers did because I think they had a little bit more powder and a slightly lighter bullet, and they were literally explosive on targets. I've still got a few boxes of these left. There's the Super X head stamp, and it also has a long nickel-plated case. And if anybody from Winchester is out there watching this video, or you know anybody that works at Winchester, I really wish that they would start making these again, because these were excellent little rounds. These are premium ammunition. They shot really well, and they were great long-range .422 ammunition to be used on varmints and you know, for game animals such as groundhogs or woodchucks, prairie dogs, like I said before, feral pigeons, you name it, anything that would be considered a pest or a varmint. They're even suitable for animals the size of a coyote. You know, if you make a good solid hit with one of these, they'll take out a coyote. And they also bridge the gap between the high velocity .22 hollow point and the .22 Magnum because of the velocity. They had a flatter trajectory. They didn't drop as much out to 100 yards and beyond, so you could shoot these a little bit further. I once shot a groundhog, I think it was around 132 yards with one of these, with one shot. And that critter never knew what happened. It was lights out right away. So anyway, let me go ahead and do some testing with these here, and then we'll do some comparison between the Stinger and maybe even the Yellow Jacket. Might shoot a couple of these Expeditors because I have a partial box left over, and we'll just kind of see, you know, if the velocities are truly what they're advertised at and how well they perform terminally, both in accuracy and on target. I've got some water jugs set up, and we'll try to recover some bullets and see what we get. So first off, we're going to test the Aguilar Super Maximum at 50 yards. I've got 3 water jugs set up downrange, and we'll see what kind of performance we get using that ammunition. I've got some steel targets down there, but don't pay any mind to those. We're not going to be shooting at those today. Alright, here we go. First shot with the Aguilar Super Maximum hollow point. Wow. That's pretty loud right there, folks. Let's go take a look. Okay. Boy, it busted that first one wide open. I mean, I hear something at the bottom here. I see some lead down here as well. Okay, there's some lead fragments from that round. It entered the second jug and did not exit. Empty it out here and see what we got, if anything. Yep, there's the bullet. Beautiful. That's impressive, folks. That bullet started to fragment a little bit in that first jug, and then it retained a lot of its weight and went on into the second jug and stopped right there. That's just what you want for a varmint bullet out of a .22 long rifle. Okay, next we're going to try the CCI Segmented hollow point. Going to load one of these up. It's a segmented 32 grain Hypervelocity bullet. Here we go. Gun's empty, and we're safe to go down range. Get my exercise going up and down this 50 and 100 yard range I've got here. Alright, let's see what we have here. Okay, I hear pieces of lead in the first jug. There's one of them. There's another one laying on the ground here. And we've got one stuck in the second jug. Okay, that bullet came completely apart, just like it said it would. 3 different pieces right there. Complete fragmentation at 50 yards, hitting 1 gallon water jugs. Okay, and just for comparison's sake, we're going to try out one of these Stinger Hypervelocity bullets. These are 32 grain as well. Get focused in on the target here. And here we go. I think you can hear the impact of that bullet smacking that water down there. Okay, well, that first water jug is pretty well busted open. Hit just a little bit higher, but results should be close to the same. Did we get an exit? Yeah, we got an exit. It went all the way through the second jug here and into the third jug. Looks like it's leaking right there. And I hear a bullet at the bottom. There it is. Actually penetrated deeper than any of the other 2 that I've tested. That's the Stinger, CCI Stinger, at 50 yards, hitting water jugs. Okay folks, since I've got some on the table here that is a partial box, as you can see here, we're going to try out some of this vintage Winchester Expeditor. Just to see how effective it is as compared to the other loads that I've tested. Okay, there we are loaded up, and we've got 3 more jugs of water down there at 50 yards. So let's see how well these will do. This is vintage ammunition, so it's really old. It's about 40 years old or so. Let's see what it does to a 1 gallon jug of water here. Just as loud as the others. It looks like it knocked that first jug completely off the pedestal. So let's go check it out. And I'll tell you what, the terminal impact of that Expediter nearly shredded that first jug there. It busted it wide open here, and then busted it open here, and busted it open on the back here. So it did really well. Let's see, it entered the second jug right there. I'm not sure if it exited or not. Let's see if we even have a round here. I think I hear something at the bottom. Yeah, there's pieces of it. See, I told you that was a hot round. Man, that bullet fragmented when it hit that water. And there's the base of it right there. That shows you just how hot that Expediter ammunition really is. Had pretty much an atomizing effect on these targets here. These one gallon jugs of water. Alright. Folks, so far I've had excellent results, and rather dramatic results, I must say, out of the ammunition that I've tested so far. Next I'm going to try this Remington Yellow Jacket. Get out one of these wicked looking truncated hollow points here. Get it loaded up and give it a try here at 50 yards. And here we go. Not quite as loud, but the impact seemed rather impressive. See you downrange. Let's see what kind of results we got with the Yellow Jacket. Alright, first jug is on the ground. It knocked it off of the pedestal as well. It split the side open here. I think I hear some lead at the bottom. Yep, there's some fragments. And we punctured the second jug here and did not exit. And I do hear a bullet. Whoa, look at that. Part of that bullet actually came apart. It completely peeled the bullet over the base and started to fragment. Here are some pieces. Off that Yellow Jacket. Well, I dropped a piece here. There we go. Try to get all these pieces up. That's the Remington Yellow Jacket at 50 yards, striking water jug. Completely penetrated one of them and ended up in the second jug. Well folks, it's a little bit late in the evening, but I think I've got enough time to do a little bit of accuracy testing, so I'm going to load up 5 rounds of the Aguilar 22 Super Maximum hollow point and see what kind of groups we get here at 50 yards. I'm going to have to hold a little bit lower because those rounds are hitting higher than what I've got the gun sighted in for. So I'm not exactly sure where it's going to hit, but I think it's going to hit about that much higher, at least at that distance. So I'm going to be shooting 5 shots with the 581 and then 5 with the 511. And I'll share my results with you when I'm done with each particular brand of ammunition. So let's let the fun begin. Well folks, here are the 5-shot groups at 50 yards. First of all, with the 581, this was my point of aim right here because I knew it was going to shoot higher. There was the first shot, and then 4 shots right there into the target, which is not that great, but that's it right there. You're seeing it as it happened. And then the 511 Scoremaster, I aimed right here, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. So it shot maybe a little bit better, but overall about the same. I've got some other rifles that I'm going to try out using that ammunition, and if I find any that shoot better than this, I'll include it in this video. Okay folks, I really wanted to give this Aguilar Super Maximum Hypervelocity hollow point a fair chance, so I tried some different rifles with it. I've got this Remington 581 that I've had for forever. This is the first rifle I actually ever owned, but even though it's a very accurate rifle, it did not like that ammunition at all. Okay, that's 50 yards. That's quite a spread right there, and that's totally unacceptable. Then I remembered I had this old Remington Model 512 Sportsmaster, and I was aiming right here, and these are the first 5 shots, and it started to show some promise there. Then I loaded 5 more rounds, and I put a sticker down here from one of the targets. This is my point of aim, and as you can see, it's shooting quite a bit higher. But there, it's starting to tighten up. One went outside of the target. I suspect that was the first one, but all the rest of them went right into that target there. That's a 4-shot group there. So, you know, you just have to try different brands and different types of ammunition with different guns. If your particular gun doesn't like a certain type of ammunition, then try something else. Sooner or later, you'll run across something that it shoots very well. It's all a matter of the elimination process, you know. Okay, I got some interesting results here using this Hypervelocity ammo. Here's a 5-shot group using the CCI Segmented Hypervelocity hollow point. That's 5 shots at 50 yards, just slightly to the right and a little bit high there. That was my point of aim. So, you know, pretty good accuracy out of that little round. I did very much the same with the CCI Stinger here. This is a 10-shot group, slightly high and a little bit to the right. But, you know, that's pretty consistent right there. Good ammunition for this rifle. And then I tried some of these Remington Yellow Jacket hollow points, Hypervelocity, and I'm a little bit high but pretty well in line. Got 3 of them real close together right there. I'm going to test a few more of these and see if I can get some more of this ammunition. But it's a little bit of a vertical stringing here. Of course, that could be due to the fact that the barrel was cold when I shot this group, and as it heated up, it settled in to those 3 shots right there together. So pretty good performance out of that Remington Yellow Jacket. I'm really pleased with all 3 of these types of ammunition. I wish that I would have gotten the same kind of accuracy with this Aguilar out of this rifle, but it seemed to do pretty well out of my Remington Model 512, which I have right here. It's showing some promise with this little rifle right here. Alright, now it's time to test the velocity of these super high-speed 22 long rifle loadings. The first one will be the Stinger by CCI. This is the escape velocity coming out of the muzzle. So here we go. (1,636 feet per second. Very close to the advertised 1,640. Okay, next up we got the Segmented Hypervelocity hollow point by CCI. Here we go. 1,590. Let's take one more shot there. 1,609. Not quite as fast as what it was advertised to be, but still quite fast. Okay, now we have the Aguilar Super Maximum Hollow Point, 30 grain. $1,737. Wow, that's really cooking. Blew my box back just a little bit, but that actually exceeds the advertised velocity of 1,700 feet per second. Let's try one more shot with that just to see if that's correct. Wow, that's even faster. 1,749 feet per second. That's smoking right there, folks. That's really fast. Okay, finally we have the Remington Yellow Jacket, another old-time favorite. Advertised at 1,500 feet per second. Let's see if it can reach that. 1,369. Let's take one more shot, just to be sure. $1,404. Not too bad. Not up to the velocity that it was advertised at, but that's still pretty fast, folks. Okay, I know that the Winchester Expeditor is not currently available. I don't know if it will ever come back to the market, but because I have a few extra, I'd like to see just what kind of speed I can get through this Remington 511 barrel and run it through the chronograph. See how it compares to the other ammunition. This is pretty old stuff, but it should still shoot pretty fast. So let's check it out. Here we go. 1,622. That's not bad. Pretty comparable to the Stinger. Okay folks, I went ahead and broke down all four of these loadings that I've been testing here to show you what's packed inside of the case of each one. I did not break down the old Winchester Expeditor because this is no longer available and this is just part of my collection, but I just wanted to show you that the Hypervelocity 22 long rifle has been around for a long time. This was from back in the 1970s, early 80s I'd say, when these were still available, but as far as I know these are no longer on the market. I really wish they would come back because they're a very impressive loading for the 22 long rifle, and they definitely hold their place in that category. But first of all, I've got the Remington Yellow Jacket here. This box here is about 2 or 3 years old. I'm not sure if they still make these. I think they do, but I'll have to check on that and find out if these are still available. But what it had inside of the case was a 33 grain truncated high velocity hollow point, as they call it, with a very generous hollow tip there, as you can see, that's quite deep actually. There's the base of the bullet. Wanted to give you a close-up. And by the way, please pardon my hands, folks. I'm a mechanic by trade, so I try to get them as clean as I can. But I still, you know, I scrub them every day and they still look dirty, but anyway, that just comes with the profession. But what the Remington Yellow Jacket has is a standard length brass case and about 2.1 to 2.2 grains of a flake type powder, as you can see here. We generated around 1,400 feet per second as an escape velocity out of a 24-inch barrel with that particular load. And the terminal impact was very impressive. There's the bullet after it impacted with the water jugs at 50 yards. And as you can see, it really mushroomed way out there. That bullet pretty much speaks for itself. So it did quite a number on the water jugs. Secondly, we got the CCI Segmented hollow point. It has a long brass case, the same length as the Stinger, and a 32 grain hollow point bullet. There's the base of it. There's the tip of it right there, as you can see. And it's actually segmented into 3 different pieces, and that's what we found in the water jugs after impact. That bullet actually came apart, and I believe it only penetrated 1 jug of water because it completely separated on impact. It shot close to 1,600 feet per second, and I could definitely tell that the impact, from the sound of the impact, that it packed quite a punch. Now the Stinger is very similar. Here's the bullet. It has a 32 grain bullet, and it's advertised at 1,640 feet per second, and that's what we got, folks. It lived up to its name in terms of velocity. It has around 3.6 grains or so of powder. It's a smaller granular powder, just like the CCI Segmented hollow point. It's the same type of powder. And there's the bullet after impact with the water jug. As you can see, it fully mushroomed, and it actually lost the front part of the bullet. There were tiny pieces of lead fragments inside of all the jugs of water as I looked through them. But that's the base of the bullet. And the Stinger still lives up to its name as one of the best and most powerful hypervelocity loadings ever made. I really like this round. Both the Stinger and the CCI held their own in terms of velocity and in accuracy. The Remington, however, was a little bit lower than the advertised velocity, but was quite good in terms of accuracy. Should be able to make consistent hits with all three of these out to 100 yards on game animals such as groundhogs, prairie dogs, raccoons, foxes, you know, anything like that. Even feral pigeons and crows would be fair game for any of these. Now lastly, we have the Aguilar Super Maximum, which has a similar powder to the Stinger and the Segmented hollow point by CCI. Very similar. Maybe a little bit more powder, but it shoots a 30 grain hollow point bullet. Give you a close look at that there. And it has kind of an odd shaped base. It's really a hollowed out base. The hollow cavity is not as deep as the others, but from the terminal impact you can see that the bullet mushroomed very well. It was actually the fastest out of all of them, going well over 1,700 feet per second, which is really, really fast, folks, for a 22 long rifle. It has this longer case. It's not quite as long as the Stinger, but pretty close. Just lacks a little bit right at the end. In terms of accuracy, I had to experiment with different guns. I finally found one that shot it fairly decently. You know, it shot into about an 1.5 inch group or so at 50 yards. So, you know, you just have to look around and see which gun likes which type of ammunition. You may have one gun that likes them all, and then again you may have a gun that's really finicky that only prefers one type of ammunition. It's just a process of elimination, pretty much, folks. I wanted to show you a close-up of this Expeditor before I close this part of the video. Get one out of the box here. Really cool looking box. There's the bullet. The hollow point of the bullet is smaller, but it's much deeper than all the rest here, except maybe the yellow jacket. But it really did a number on those water jugs, folks. It also has a long nickel-plated case, just like the Stinger. And in terms of performance, that's what's left of the bullet after striking those water jugs at 50 yards. That's the base of it there. And then that's what I found that was left over from the rest of the bullet. So it had, like I said, pretty much an atomizing effect. on the target at that distance. Hopefully we can get these back again someday, folks. I think a lot of you will really like this particular round, if they ever make a comeback. Okay, now I want to do a comparison in the burn rate of these powders. First off, once again, we have the Remington Yellow Jacket powder. This is something you've probably never seen before, folks, but okay. I wanted to show you firsthand how these powders burned in comparison to one another. Secondly, we got the CCI Segmented hollow point powder. That burned quite a bit slower. And then the CCI Stinger, I would say it's probably the same. Yep, pretty much the same. And then the Aguilar Super Maximum. Pretty comparable, maybe a little bit slower burning. A little bit slower burning than all the rest of them. So the Remington burned the fastest and the Aguilar probably burned the slowest. And as you can see, there's a little bit more of a charring effect on the paper here from the Aguilar powder than all the rest. These powders are designed to burn slower so that the bullet can absorb the power from the charge itself in a long barrel, you know, in the length of a 24-inch barrel. They're designed to burn longer than regular loadings or standard loadings. I believe originally that CCI used the slow burning Hercules type powder. I don't know what else the other manufacturers use, but from doing this test you can see that they're all relatively slow burning powders. Well folks, before I close out this video, I'd like to leave you with a few final thoughts regarding this Hypervelocity 22 long rifle ammunition that I've tested for you. As you well know, it's been around for a long time. You know, the concept of Hypervelocity 22 long rifle ammo started out in the mid-1970s or so, and I did a video on that about a year and a half ago or so, where I covered some different loadings, including this Stinger, because CCI came out with the very first Hypervelocity loading, the Stinger, which has been a favorite amongst many shooters, including myself. I absolutely love the CCI Stinger because it still performs just as well as it ever did, in my opinion. As you could see from the chronograph, it still shoots well over 1,600 feet per second, just like it says on the box. The terminal effect on the targets was very impressive, and the accuracy was quite good as well. You know, you should be able to make consistent hits, like I said, on varmint-sized game out to 100 yards with the CCI Stinger, and believe me, 100 yards is nothing for the Stinger, because I've shot groundhogs with this at 130 plus, and each one only required one shot, and the groundhog was dead when I got to it. So the CCI Stinger is still some of the best Hypervelocity ammunition ever made, in my opinion. Don't forget that in the past there were cartridges such as this Winchester Expeditor available, so if you run across any of this, scoop it up because it's really good stuff. I would be very sparing in terms of shooting it, you know, save it for special occasions, but if you're a collector, don't shoot it at all. And hopefully, like I said, Winchester will start making this stuff again because it's really good ammunition, really good. It competed with the CCI Stinger very strongly back in the day. And of course the Yellow Jacket's been around just about as long. It was Remington's answer to the Hypervelocity ammunition at the time, in the mid to late 1970s when it first came out. And then the CCI Segmented hollow point was a new surprise for me because it was very similar to the Stinger, both in terms of power and accuracy, but the performance was quite different because, as you can see here on the box, it's advertised as being a bullet that is a fragmenting projectile, and that's exactly what it did during our test. So it lived up to its name very well. You know, the group that I shot at 50 yards was right at 1 inch or so with that particular ammunition. And then the one that probably surprised me the most, simply due to the sheer speed that I got out of it, was this Aguilar Super Maximum. You know, it exceeded 1,700 feet per second, and that's really, really smoking fast. I just wish that it were a little bit more accurate. Actually, I wish it were a lot more accurate, but I found a rifle that shot it pretty well, and that's what you're going to have to do. Just like I said, you know, you just have to experiment with different loadings to see what your gun likes. And if you have several different rifles like I do, you can check each one with different loadings to see which one it prefers, because every rifle has its sweet spot, you know, its preference in terms of ammunition and loads. That's any rifle, even centerfire rifles. You know, they all have their pet loads, and that's why I like to reload. But that's a whole different subject. But anyway, I hope I gave you some good information here, something that's useful. I always try to do several tests to show you the results that I get, because what you're seeing is exactly what's happening as I'm filming it. Quite often I get surprised because a lot of this ammunition I've never tried before. I just pick it up to test it out and show you folks in case you're interested. And you know, since the 22 is such a very popular loading, there are so many different varieties of it out there. I can make these videos from now on and probably never run out of ideas. So there should be more to come. So anyway, folks, if you want to get out and try this type of ammunition, one thing to keep in mind, it's intended for varmint shooting. You know, anything from feral pigeons to crows, groundhogs, prairie dogs, raccoons, foxes, all the way up to coyotes. You know, it can be rather effective even on larger game like that, although I'd probably limit my shot to around 50 yards for something the size of a coyote. Now, for small game use, it's just too hot. You know, it's too powerful. If you go squirrel hunting or rabbit hunting with this stuff, you're not going to have much left for the dinner table. It's just too much because it's too explosive in most cases. So anyway, those are some of the thoughts I wanted to leave you with. And also, another thought I'd like to leave you with is, remember, if you like to go hunting, fishing, camping, shooting, hiking, whatever it may be, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And also remember, hit that like button, smash that bell icon, and subscribe. That way you'll know when more videos like this will be coming your way. So, happy shooting to everyone out there. Y'all take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.